Hey, it's time for Lons TV again. My hair is doing this ridiculous curl thing. I have no idea why, and I think my camera's being weird. There's like all kinds of, it's spotty and grainy today. It wasn't before. Again, lighting, not great. It is what it is, folks. Take it or leave it. Please take it. Please don't leave it. So I wanted to talk about a couple things today. The first one is I'm unemployed. I've been unemployed since I started doing the Lons TV sort of project. I'm consulting. I'm keeping myself busy. But the point is that very quickly you balance out. You get used to whatever your schedule is, and it stops seeming like time off, or that it's easier than what you normally do, even though, you know, it totally isn't. I used to work all day, and I used to work 60-hour weeks most weeks, and now I'm working literally 10 to 15 hours a week, and the rest of the time I can basically decide what I want to do on my own, and it still feels like, oh my god, where did the day go? I'm so busy. I'll find myself actually, like, there's things piling up on my desk, and I'll be like, oh, right, I gotta call that number. Oh, man, I never get around to that. And it's like, never get around to that. I'm working one day out of my usual work week. You know, like, I mean, I'm working 10 hours total. That used to be, I would do that on, like, a Monday. And I feel like I have no time, and every day it gets to around this time, and I'm wrapping up what I was doing during the day, and I'm figuring out what I'm doing that night, and it's like, where the hell did all the day go? Like, how did it possibly get to this? So it just balances out so quickly. It's kind of frustrating. I'm still enjoying some time off, and I'm relaxing more, but it's just weird how mentally I'm already in like 10 hours a week. That's a full work week. What are you talking about? So the main thing I wanted to review today is the Roger Waters The Wall show that I saw live last night at the Staples Center. My old boss, Mark Jeffrey, got me, had two extra tickets and just threw them my way. So I got to go with my friend Nathan, and I mean, we had a blast. It was a great show. It's really huge and impressive. If you get a chance to go see The Wall, I know he's touring. I think he's got a couple more Southern California dates coming up. It's a huge show, and I mean, it really works well on pretty much every level. Like, his voice still sounds great. The songs, obviously, are classic songs. A lot of, like, iconic Pink Floyd tunes you get to hear. I mean, you got Run Like Hell in there, Another Brick in the Wall, Comfortably Numb. There's a lot of them, and they come up a lot, and it's just a great chance to see Roger Waters do some of the classic Pink Floyd songs live, and he sounds great, and he's got a great backing band, including a guy who sort of passes for David Gilmour, so you kind of get that classic Floyd feeling. You know, and the songs hold up. I mean, they're not just like you like them because it's classic rock songs and we all know them and they were on, you know, the radio every day growing up. It's or if you're my age at least, but they're still relevant. Like the themes of the show still feel relevant. If you think about it, it's about, like, you know, it's anti-war, and there's a war going on, and Waters is against it, and it's, you know, his memories of growing up with his father gone and eventually dying in World War II, and how that sort of followed him around for his life and made him anti-war for life. It's got this sort of strong paranoia about corporations, like controlling people's minds and using money to control the government, and obviously that is still pretty relevant today. And it's also about how, you know, media and technology just made Waters feel sort of alienated and alone and detached from reality. All of those things still very relevant in 2010 and amazingly sort of prescient. And he has some updates in the show, like there's references to, you know, Apple and iPods and other stuff that, you know, there's film clip images of, like, George W. Bush, and he's able to get away with that because the themes of the show are sort of universal and still make sense in a modern context. I can imagine a lot of concept rock albums of the 70s, if you did them today, you'd be like, it's interesting as a novelty or as nostalgia, but it wouldn't still feel relevant to a modern audience. And then, of course, the technical aspects of the show are just amazing. I mean, this was probably the biggest, most impressive rock show I've ever seen. It's really more like seeing an opera or a play than it is a concert. I mean, they're up there, they're playing, it's live music, Waters is singing, but I mean, there's inflatable pigs and pyrotechnics and fireworks and crazy props and lighting effects and everything. And there's the, you know, constantly the wall itself, which is being built on stage during the show. They're using it to project all sorts of animation from the 1982 film and other kinds of film clips and other sort of animations. And It's really, I've seen a lot of big scale sort of rock spectacle stuff. U2 with the Rose Bowl. I saw, Kiss play at Irvine Meadows once when it was still Irvine Meadows. I've seen the Flaming Lips a couple times. Like, all great sort of showmen who do big shows, but this was probably the most impressive thing I've seen put together yet. And tag team at the Brent Event Center at UCI. I mean, I saw them back when Whoop There It Is was peaking. And I mean, nothing so far has really compared to the wall at Staples Center. Awesome show. Everything was great. One more thing that occurred to me while I was watching it, so much of the show itself is about how alienated he is, how he's withdrawing from people. He's, the wall itself, the metaphorical, he's building a wall between himself and the outside world. And it was inspired by Pink Floyd touring and these, like, boorish, horrible audiences that he couldn't stand, and he actually would hoping he could sort of hide while they played their songs. And it was fascinating that everybody at the show that I could see was recording it. I mean, people were taking pictures, people were, making videos. There's tons of them out there. If you go to YouTube and search, you can find all kinds of video, probably the whole show put together in video. Even Mark, who got me the tickets, was making videos and posted some of them up. I'm not trying to knock it. I'm not saying don't do that. I mean, there is a side of me that feels like that, is just an old crotchety guy who's like, put your phones down and, like, enjoy the show and be in the moment. But I get it. It was just interesting in terms of now we're so far moved. Not only is it that we don't want to hide from everybody and nobody feels like that need to withdraw like Waters felt, but it's really the opposite. It's that the things we do are only defined by sharing them. Like, that's who we are. Like, that's what it is to do things. An essential component of going out at night, doing an event, participating in something, seeing a show, is recording it and then reporting back on it later to your connections. That becomes almost part of the experience, maybe the most important. I mean, like, you would think last night from watching the venue that was the most important thing. That was the reason people were there. Not to see the show, but to capture it for posterity. And I mean, you could see, if you look at the YouTube clips of it, you'll see just like the smartphone lights dotting up the whole arena. It's replaced the lighted match. There was a guy in front of us who had a lighter, and he kept trying to get it going, like he'd wave his lighter, but the lighter trick doesn't work if only one person is doing it, and everybody was too busy on their phones to hold up their lighter, so you get one sad, lonely guy in the back with the 70s technology, like waving the lighter, and everyone else is holding up their iPhone and preserving it. And, I mean, I will admit, even though I think it's interesting, and I'm not trying to knock people who that is their impulse, because I get it, and I have a smartphone, but there is that old man part of me that feels like, it's something, you're missing something. If your whole time is focused on mediating the experience, like watching the show through the lens of your own camera, it's when are you going to go back and watch that? And what is that footage really for? And why is it worth missing the actual experience minute to minute so that you can be, looking at it later on a little screen and it's grainy and it won't be like it was to be there, and you're missing it to get that inferior version later. I don't really get it, I'll be honest. But it's obviously here to stay, and that's where the culture is, and I do think it's fascinating. I think this is an interesting thing about that movie Cloverfield, is that it's really about this. It's about these people who are experiencing this monster attack through cameras and technology and media, and that's how they're staying connected, and that's how they find meaning in it. But anyway, that's a discussion for a different. Maybe I'll do a Cloverfield review, because it's unfairly knocked, that movie. But that is today's episode of Lons TV. I could go on forever. I will hold off. I will see you back here tomorrow. Thanks everybody who's subscribing so far. We're almost at 100 subscriptions, and it feels good. And I will see you next time. Thanks a lot.